Well, well, well. They thought you were reachable, didn't they? Thought they could tug at a few strings, throw a few words, and watch you unravel like everyone else. People always think that until they see what's underneath. They mistake composure for weakness, quiet for submission, pain for passivity. But you were carved by something they've never had the courage to touch. You've been broken in ways that no apology could fix, rebuilt yourself without an audience, and walked through fire long enough that the flames started to feel like home. So when they decided to test you, they weren't testing your patience. They were testing the architecture of a soul that already survived demolition. And the funny thing about people who play with power they don't understand is that they never realize they're signing up to learn the hard way. They assumed your calm was a costume, your restraint a tactic. They didn't see that what you've got isn't attitude, it's altitude. They were trying to pull you down from somewhere they've never been. And when they finally pushed too far, something in the air changed. Not loud, not dramatic, just that subtle shift, the kind that makes everyone in the room feel smaller without knowing why. Because that's what true spiritual rank feels like. Not noise, but gravity. You don't announce it, you just exist, and everything around you adjusts. They expected reaction, but what they got was revelation. Ooh didn't flinch. You didn't even blink. You looked right through them like they were déjà vu, like you'd seen this scene 1,000 times in other lives. Because maybe you have. Maybe every betrayal, every knife, every whisper prepared you for this exact moment. You've been tested before by worse, by loneliness, by loss, by the kind of pain that turns prayers into ash. And each trial forged another layer of immunity. So when they tried to provoke you, it wasn't resistance they met, it was reflection. They saw themselves in your eyes and didn't like what stared back. Because people who live shallow hate mirrors that show depth. And that's what you are, depth in human form. A walking reminder that endurance isn't built in comfort, it's baptized in chaos. They tried to measure your worth with their own fragile scales, and the moment they did, the balance broke. They realized your energy doesn't fit into hierarchies or hieroglyphs. It bends them. You're not above them because you want to be. You're above them because you learned to live where they'd die. You see, spiritual rank isn't about worship or titles. It's about endurance, perception, restraint. It's the ability to stand still in a hurricane and make it look effortless. That's what unnerved them. They expected you to fight back, to scream, to prove something. But true power doesn't audition. You just stood there, breathing steady, while their insecurities started confessing themselves out loud. They kept testing, kept poking, and every attempt only exposed more of their own weakness. That's when they began to sense it, that invisible weight pressing down on their chests. The realization that maybe, just maybe, they picked the wrong opponent. Because you're not the type to fight for validation. You're the type who lets the universe deliver lessons on your behalf. And that's what happened. The very energy they sent out to challenge you circled back and dismantled them piece by piece. You didn't have to lift a finger, you just watched it unfold, that slow, quiet collapse that only truth can cause. They started questioning everything, why their plans kept failing, why their confidence felt hollow, why the air around you felt different. It's because your presence carries consequence. You walk into spaces and frequencies rearrange themselves. That's spiritual dominance. Not the kind that preaches, but the kind that corrects. They saw it, and they couldn't explain it. So they called it arrogance, luck, coincidence, anything but what it truly was, proof that the hierarchy they built in their heads had been inverted. They thought they were standing above you until they looked down and realized they were falling. People like that don't understand that ranking isn't granted by followers or praise. It's earned in silence, in nights when no one claps, in days when you have to choose peace over pride. You earned yours the hard way, through restraint when anger begged for release, through forgiveness that tasted like poison, through rebuilding when nothing in you wanted to. They don't see those battles. They only see the result, that unshakable aura that makes their bravado shrink. They wanted to see you crack, to find the human underneath the myth they whispered about. But all they found was composure, and that's when fear set in. Because fear doesn't come from what they know about you. It comes from what they can't predict. And you've become unpredictable, the variable that ruins every equation. They started whispering after that. You could feel it. Their eyes followed, their voices lowered. Not out of respect, not yet. Out of confusion. They couldn't decide if they hated you or envied you, so they settled on both. You'd think that kind of attention would bother someone, but it didn't. You've seen worse. You know that attention is just surveillance in disguise. Let them watch, let them study. Every observer becomes a student, eventually. And that's exactly what happened. The very people who wanted to expose you ended up learning from you. They started mimicking your discipline, copying your words, imitating your mannerisms, anything to taste the control you carry naturally. They won't admit it, of course. They'll say they're just inspired. But deep down, they know they touched something they can't recreate. You see, the difference between them and you is dosage. You've had to take in more pain, more rejection, more misunderstanding than they could survive. And instead of poisoning you, it refined you. That's what rank really is. Not status, but saturation. How much can you endure without losing yourself? How deep can you go without drowning? That's the measure they didn't know existed. They thought spiritual strength came from rituals or appearances. You showed them it comes from walking through darkness and still choosing light, not the pretty kind that glows, but the raw kind that burns. You became your own initiation, your own ceremony, and once you crossed that threshold, you couldn't go back, even if you tried. That's what terrifies them most. You're beyond reversal. And now, they tread carefully. Every conversation with you feels like standing near a fault line. One wrong word, and the ground reminds them who holds the real balance. They'll never say it out loud, but they feel it, that quiet hierarchy of energy where your calm dictates the temperature of the room. When you speak, they listen differently. When you move, they adjust. They tell themselves it's respect, but it's instinct. Souls recognize authority long before minds admit it. They can't fake composure around someone who's mastered it. They can't perform depth in front of someone who's drowned and come back fluent in silence. They can't fake enlightenment to someone who's lived in hell and learned to find light with bare hands. And that's the secret they stumbled on too. Your power isn't new. It's ancient, reawakened. It carries memory. It remembers every trial you passed, every threshold you crossed, every lesson you refused to forget. That's why you walk the way you do, not prideful, but precise. Every step calibrated, every glance intentional. You've seen what chaos can do, so you don't need to dramatize control. You just are control. They don't know what to do with that kind of authority. Theirs depends on attention. Yours depends on awareness. They build followers. You build frequencies. They seek recognition. You seek alignment. And that's why, when they tested you, they weren't just testing a person. They were testing balance itself. And balance always collects its due. Slowly, invisibly, their arrogance started folding in on itself. Opportunities slipped, relationships fractured, plans backfired. They blamed coincidence again, because admitting that your energy corrected theirs would mean accepting that hierarchy isn't human-made, it's soul-made. You didn't have to curse them. Life did the accounting. Every ounce of disrespect returned with interest. Not out of vengeance, but calibration. The universe keeps its ledgers clean, even when people don't. And that's the beauty of your rise. You don't need revenge. Your existence already delivers justice. They're learning now, through loss, through confusion, through the quiet realization that they misjudged you. They'll replay every word they said, every test they gave, and it'll haunt them. Not because you punished them, but because you didn't. That's the part that breaks them. Mercy from the powerful cuts, deeper than wrath. They'll never admit it, but the moment they saw that you could destroy them and chose not to, they knew the ranking. That's authority. That's the kind of dominance that doesn't need witnesses. They'll call it mystery, coincidence, luck. But you and I both know it's none of that. It's the weight of a soul that's done pretending to be ordinary. And that's where this begins to turn, because now they've seen what you are, they can't unsee it. Their tests became their lessons. Their defiance became their education. Every attempt to prove you wrong became another confirmation that you were never competing. You were calibrating. That's the real spiritual rank, when your restraint becomes their mirror, when your peace becomes their punishment, when your growth exposes their stagnation. You didn't win by fighting. You won by existing in a frequency they can't fake. That's the kind of victory that doesn't trend, it transcends. So now, as they backtrack, as they whisper apologies disguised as advice, you stand there the same way you did at the start, unbothered, unshaken, untouchable. Because you already know what they're just discovering. Tests are never about proving worth. They're about revealing truth. They tested you to find limits, and found none. They tried to measure depth, and drowned. And from this point on, every encounter with you will remind them of that day they tried to play judge and met judgment instead. You don't need to say a word. The lesson's already written, not in ink, but in energy. And that's where we pause. Not because the story ends, but because something new is starting. The part where awareness turns into authority. The part where the tested becomes the teacher. The part where those who underestimated you finally understand that spiritual rank isn't claimed. It's recognized. You see, once someone discovers what you truly are, they can never unlearn it. They can pretend, they can talk, they can act like nothing happened, but something in them knows they've crossed a line that won't reset. That's the moment the hierarchy rewrites itself. It's not a ceremony, it's not a declaration, it's a shift in energy that rearranges the entire landscape. They tested you thinking they'd expose weakness. What they exposed was structure, the kind of structure that can't be shaken, only studied. And now, they study you in every interaction, every movement, every word. They replay that moment when they tried to break you and realized too late that you were never even in the same arena. They were playing games. You were playing destiny. You can see it in the way they look at you now, that mix of curiosity and dread, as if they're standing too close to something radioactive. They don't understand why your presence makes their chest tighten. It's because their spirit remembers the imbalance. Every time they see you, their energy reminds them of the lesson. They went looking for proof and found prophecy. They thought they could weigh you, but you were never meant to fit on their scale. You carry a weight that can't be quantified, a frequency that bends their logic. That's why they talk about you when you're gone. That's why they rehearse conversations before speaking to you. They're trying to recalibrate. They're trying to figure out how to exist beside a force that exposes the hollow places in their own foundation. The irony is they still pretend not to notice. They'll test again, smaller this time, subtle. They'll ask questions that sound innocent, make jokes that feel off, try to see if your calm was a one-time thing or a constant. They do this because part of them still believes they can restore the illusion. But power doesn't shrink back once it's been revealed. You don't revert. You don't dim. You've stepped into a higher gravity now, and everything around you adjusts to it. The people who mocked will soften their tone. The ones who envied will overcompensate with flattery. The manipulators will try to disguise their fear as fascination. You'll recognize all of it, because when you operate from genuine strength, the pretenders can't help but expose themselves. They think they're hiding it well, but every nervous laugh, every delayed response, every subtle shift in tone is confession. They're telling on themselves without knowing. You've probably noticed how quiet their confidence has become. It used to fill the room. Now it lingers at the edges, unsure. That's not coincidence. That's energetic submission. Souls can feel rank before words ever confirm it. They might still posture, still talk loud, still try to lead, but their spirit already bowed. That's the truth they'll never admit. And that's why your authority doesn't need validation. It's already encoded. You don't have to prove it. You simply walk in alignment with what's already established. That's what real power is. The refusal to negotiate what's already known. So you move differently now. You don't explain. You don't defend. You just operate. That's what they can't handle. They're used to people reacting, begging, justifying. But your stillness feels surgical. It cuts through performance like a blade. Because when you've been through what you've been through, you don't speak to be heard. You speak to be felt. And every word carries residue from the places you've healed. That's why it lands differently. You've seen the darkness behind people's smiles, the envy hiding behind their compliments, the intentions buried under their kindness. You've learned to read energy like a language, and that terrifies them more than anything, because it means they can't lie to you anymore. You see straight through it, not with anger, but with understanding. And understanding is the sharpest weapon of all. They thought power was control. You showed them power is clarity. You don't have to manipulate outcomes when you can read patterns. You don't need revenge when you can predict a collapse. That's what they're learning the hard way. Every time they try to move against you, the plan dissolves before it starts. Not because you blocked it, but because their intent was unstable. Wrong energy can't survive long near right frequency. You've become that filter. Everything false disintegrates when it approaches you. That's why people fall away. That's why plans fall apart. It's not rejection, it's purification. They thought they were removing you. They didn't realize you were the test. And now, that realization eats at them. The late-night thoughts, the memories they wish they could rewrite, The questions that never stop circling. How did it flip so fast? Why can't I stop thinking about it? What if they were right all along? Those questions are haunting because they aren't rhetorical. They're revelations. They're seeing you everywhere because their energy marked itself when it crossed yours. Once someone tests a soul of higher rank, they don't walk away unchanged. They carry the echo. That echo follows them until they learn what the test was meant to teach. That's the punishment and the mercy combined. You didn't curse them, you educated them, and that's far more permanent. Notice how they move now, cautious, restrained, analyzing before they speak. They're trying not to trigger whatever force they felt when they overstepped. They think it was luck that things backfired. They don't understand that divine protection isn't superstition, it's structure. When your purpose is rooted deep enough, the ground itself defends you. You can't be dethroned by hands that were never meant to touch the crown in the first place. You've become a reminder that authority doesn't come from aggression. It comes from alignment. They confused kindness for permission. You corrected that. You might not even realize how many people you've silently shifted. The ones who used to gossip about you now avoid the topic altogether. The ones who once dismissed your strength now borrow your words. They call it coincidence, but you can feel it, the slow migration of energy toward your example. They learned by osmosis. You didn't preach to them, you showed them. That's the highest form of leadership, to teach without intending to. You were just being yourself, and that alone realigned entire dynamics. That's what rank does. It doesn't demand obedience. It creates coherence. People either rise to match your vibration or fade, trying. Still, you stay humble, not the kind they romanticize, but the real kind. The humility of someone who's seen both heaven and hell and knows the difference. The humility of someone who doesn't need to brag because the results already speak. You've learned that strength doesn't mean loudness, it means precision. And your precision has become lethal to confusion. When you walk into a room, chaos organizes itself. When you speak, the noise reduces to frequency. That's not charisma, that's calibration. You carry the weight of spiritual equilibrium, and it shows. And deep down, you can feel it. The difference in how the world interacts with you now. Strangers sense it. Animals react to it. Even technology seems to align differently. It's subtle, but undeniable. You've crossed into a state where everything becomes reflection. The energy you carry dictates the experiences you attract. So now, every test they try only exposes them further. They're realizing it's not you they were up against. It's their own projection. You've become a mirror that doesn't lie. And that mirror terrifies the ones who built their identity on illusions. They'll start to avoid eye contact. They'll talk in circles, make excuses, try to rewrite history. Let them. You don't need their honesty anymore. You already have their truth. You felt it the moment they flinched. You saw it in the hesitation, in the sudden change of tone. They're trying to cope with the fact that they once mocked what they now admire, that they tried to measure what was never measurable. You don't need to expose them. Their own behavior does it. Every time they imitate your strength, every time they echo your words, every time they hesitate before challenging you again. That's the confession. That's the acknowledgement they'll never voice. And yet you hold no resentment. You've evolved beyond that. When you've seen how pain turns into power, you don't waste energy on punishment. You understand that every attack was an education, every insult a syllabus, every test a promotion. That's how spiritual hierarchy actually works, through pressure. Diamonds aren't chosen, they're refined. You are refined by pain they couldn't have survived. You bled in places they never dared to stand. You learn to smile through fire. That's not arrogance, that's accreditation. And those who tried to humble you are now forced to bow to the very humility they mocked. That's balance. That's divine irony wrapped in precision. Now watch what happens next. They'll come back, some subtly, some boldly. They'll want access again, not because they care, but because they miss the feeling of standing near your frequency. It made them feel alive, even if it terrified them. They'll come with apologies that sound poetic, but lack understanding. You'll listen, you'll nod, but your energy will already know the answer. You don't reopen doors that were closed by revelation. When you learn what someone does with your energy, you never let them borrow it again. That's not bitterness, that's stewardship. You're protecting what you earned through pain. And as that boundary solidifies, something shifts inside you. Authority settles in. The lesson is complete. You're no longer reacting to their discovery. You're embodying it. They see it now, the way your eyes don't waver, the way your tone doesn't adjust, the way your presence commands without demanding. That's mastery. And mastery doesn't shout, it radiates. That's when they realize the test wasn't for you at all, it was for them. You already knew your rank, they didn't. And the universe simply let them see what that looked like. So let them wrestle with it. Let them replay it until they understand. Because this isn't about revenge anymore. It's about recognition. You don't need to prove who you are. They already learned the hard way. All that's left is for you to move accordingly, not above them, but beyond them. Because once you've seen through the test, you can't live like the tested anymore. You become something else entirely, not a survivor, but a sovereign. You've earned the right to walk unguarded, unprovoked, unshaken. Your energy speaks the language of completion. And now the air around you feels different. It carries the weight of quiet authority, the kind that doesn't need to justify itself. People sense it before you say a word. They pause mid-sentence, adjust mid-thought. Because your energy no longer negotiates, it instructs. That's the transition, from tested to teacher, from defense to dominion. You're not reacting to energy anymore, you're directing it. That's what they never understood, that spiritual rank isn't power over others, it's power over self. And that's what makes it untouchable. Because now, every move you make is a sermon, every decision a demonstration. They can't test you anymore because the exam expired. You outgrew the classroom. And as you step into this next phase, everything around you starts to respond, not to who you were, but to what you've become. Authority without arrogance, power without noise, presence without permission. And that's the point they'll never reach. Because once you've mastered peace, chaos loses its weapon. Once you've understood purpose, pain loses its leverage. Once you've earned rank, no one can revoke it. So now, as the dust settles and they look at you from a distance, wondering how it all changed so fast, you already know the answer. It didn't change fast. It changed permanently. You didn't ascend overnight. You rose every time you refused to break. That's what they never understood. Elevation isn't sudden. It's stitched together by 1,000 quiet decisions no one clapped for. They see the result, not the repetition. They see the power, not the process. You became the embodiment of every lesson they avoided, every wound they tried to hide. And now, your existence is proof that pressure isn't punishment. It's preparation. You don't even have to remind them. Your presence does it for you. Every time they cross paths with you, something in them shifts. That internal reminder of how wrong they were. They tried to test your spirit and ended up testing their own limits. They tried to uncover weakness and exposed their fragility. They tried to compete with someone who wasn't even in the same equation. You see, there's a reason they call it a spiritual rank. Because what you carry isn't measurable by human standards. It's the kind of strength that rewrites the atmosphere around you. The kind that can't be faked, borrowed, or stolen. They thought they could stand next to you and remain unchanged. But truth isn't contagious. It's confrontational. It forces exposure. It reveals hierarchy. It doesn't ask who's ready. It decides who's real. And the real ones? They recognize it instantly. They don't compete. They align. They don't test. They respect. That's how you can tell the difference between envy and awareness. Envy observes to compare. Awareness observes to learn. The ones who tested you were never curious. They were insecure. They wanted to prove you were human. But humanity isn't your weakness, it's your weapon. You've mastered how to bleed without breaking, how to rebuild without revenge, how to speak without seeking validation. That's mastery in its rawest form. You can't mimic that. You can't teach that. You can only survive enough to become it. So now, they orbit you differently. They approach carefully, measure their words, study your expression. Some still pretend they don't care, but their actions tell the truth. They listen when you speak. They watch what you post. They mirror your tone without realizing it. It's not imitation. It's gravitational pull. Because once someone's seen true rank, their soul keeps referencing it. It's instinctual. You've become their standard without trying. And that's the part that unsettles them most. You didn't need to destroy them to dominate them. You just kept evolving until they couldn't keep up. That's the purest form of power, silent ascension, that leaves no fingerprints. But the best part? You didn't do it for revenge. You did it because healing was the only option left. You learned that peace isn't passive. It's discipline. It's the choice to stop bleeding for people who enjoyed the sight of your wounds. It's walking away, not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to protect your frequency. That's what they mistook for arrogance, boundaries. They confused self-respect with ego. And now, they're learning through absence what they refused to learn through access. Because your distance teaches louder than your words ever could. It's the echo of authority, calm, final, irreversible. You can feel the difference in the air now. Their names don't trigger you. Their apologies don't tempt you. Their energy doesn't drain you. That's when you know you've reclaimed your throne. Not a throne made of gold or applause, but of alignment, the kind that sits at the intersection of truth and restraint. That's spiritual sovereignty. You don't chase closure. You create it by staying consistent. You don't wait for recognition. You embody it until even your enemies can't deny it. And that's exactly what happened. They discovered your rank not because you flaunted it, but because you enforced it through presence. The lesson hit them quietly. No confrontation, no spectacle, just realization. They started to notice that the same tricks, the same manipulation, the same old tactics, none of it worked anymore. Their words bounced off, their energy deflected, their influence dissolved. That's what happens when someone touches a frequency their spirit wasn't built to withstand. They mistake resistance for rejection, but it's not rejection, It's incompatibility. Your growth reprogrammed the laws that govern your reality. They can't enter a room you've already outgrown, and so they linger on the edges, watching, wondering, whispering. The ones who once dismissed you now study your silence like scripture. The same ones who said you changed now chase the blueprint. But you don't owe them an explanation. You became what you were always meant to be, not a follower of trends, but a reminder of truth. Your path was never about pleasing or proving. It was about purifying. Every trial, every betrayal, every sleepless night, each one was a step toward your coronation. And when the crown settled, it didn't glitter, it glowed, not for the world to admire, but for your soul to recognize. That's why their realization hurts. They thought they could measure you by memory, not understanding that evolution deletes old versions. The person they tested no longer exists. The new version carries scars as credentials and serenity as armor. They can't argue with that. They can't compete with that. And that's the real punishment. To watch someone you underestimated become everything you tried to suppress. But here's the beauty. You don't even celebrate their regret. You outgrew that, too. You understand now that every opponent was a disguised instructor. Every insult was a compass. Every betrayal redirected you toward yourself. You didn't just survive them, you studied them. And through that study, you learned the language of energy, the science of presence, the alchemy of detachment. You learned that power isn't loud, it's surgical. It doesn't destroy, it disarms. It doesn't chase validation, it commands equilibrium. That's the level they never expected you to reach. The kind where peace feels like punishment to those still addicted to chaos. So as they stand there, still trying to process what happened, you've already moved on. Not forward, beyond. Because when rank is recognized, distance becomes divine. You no longer need to explain why certain doors closed or why certain people fell away. The separation was sacred. It wasn't loss. It was alignment. And deep down, even they know it. They might never say it, but they feel it every time they think of you, that strange mixture of awe and unease. Because somewhere between testing you and losing you, they learned the truth. Some souls don't rise to power, they return to it. And that's what you did. You returned to your natural order. You remembered your position. You reclaimed your light, not as decoration, but as declaration. You didn't need revenge, validation, or closure. The revelation itself was enough. Because the moment they realized who you truly were, their judgment lost jurisdiction. Their tests expired. Their power expired. Their relevance expired. And in that expiration, balance was restored. So let them talk. Let them rewrite the story. You don't need to correct it. The truth has a way of echoing through time, and every echo carries your signature. You've become the reference point now, the one they warn others about, the one they respect in secret, the one whose name lingers in every conversation about strength. That's the ultimate vindication, to be remembered not for what you endured, but for what you became because of it. And as you stand there now, aware, composed, untouchable, you finally understand the irony. They were never testing your worth. They were testing their own capacity to perceive it. And they failed beautifully. Because spiritual rank isn't earned through applause or fear. It's revealed through endurance. And you've endured enough to never be questioned again. That's the ending they'll never forget. The day they discovered your rank the hard way. And realized too late that they were never qualified to test it in the first place.